Now on Sunrise and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, Victoria now in stage 2 of drought conditions, what that could mean for the area just ahead. And we now know more about the invasive pythons lurking in the Florida Everglades. Plus, the death of a beloved actress, Teri Garr.
And the weather department's looking a little bit busy out there. We got rain chances on the rise. We got our next fall cold front officially coming our way next week. And the tropics are still a little bit busy and it warrants your attention. All that in the weather coming up.
And former Cuero quarterback Brad Gable gets inducted to the Texas High School Hall of Fame. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning, Crossroads, and thank you for joining us on this Wednesday morning.
Yeah, Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Only got a few more days left of early voting.
That's right, and I only have a few more hours until I put together the final pieces of my Halloween costume, Parker.
Yes.
And maybe for Sparty, Bruno, or Diego, we've got a pet costume contest too.
Oh, there you go. I still got to get mine together for tomorrow.
And speaking of dressing up, Tootsie, which Teri Garr, the actress, we're mourning today, it's a very, very funny movie where Dustin Hoffman dresses as a woman. You've got to watch it. It's hilarious.
I'll give that one a look for sure. Well, thank you for telling me about that one, Carolina. And if y'all are wondering about dressing for Halloween, that's tomorrow night. You're probably wondering, is it going to be raining tomorrow? Is it going to be cold, hot? What are we looking at? Well, I think it's actually going to be very nice. I'm thinking tomorrow night. It might be a couple leftover showers in the early evening, but after that sun sets, I think it's going to be partly cloudy. Temperatures in the mid and upper 70s. Very lovely weather. I don't think you need to dress for the rain occasionally. But looking at it live here in Victoria, it's another warm and humid morning out there this morning. If you're tuning in with us, it's 72 degrees right now. Dew point matching that, bringing 100% humidity. So you're probably going to see a little bit of maybe dew on your windshield, but we're not expecting any fog out there because we've got a little bit of a breeze, providing a little bit of mixing in the atmosphere. But look at your wind gusts for today. I'm sure y'all noticed yesterday it was a bit breezy. Yesterday gusted up to 30 to 35 miles an hour at times, but today not going to be as breezy. Today's gust up to about 20 to 25 at times. Why is it still breezy? Because we got this gigantic upper level low trough that's going to be coming off the Rockies today, heading northeastward towards the Great Lakes, sending a cold front that's going to stall in central Texas, but that's going to bring our rain chances up. But what we're looking for is this gigantic upper level low trough that's going to be bringing the next fall front next week. Before that front arrives, though, it's still warm out there, so if you're sending your kids to the door, packing for the end of the day in the low 90s. We're going to look at that coming up next. Carolina.
Thank you, Parker. And I have a report here from the Victoria Advocate. I'm reading it from my laptop. So at about 7 p.m. last night, the Victoria Fire Department received a call about a brush fire across the road from McCoy's Building Supply. We'll have more posted on our website, crossroadstoday.com. The drought in South Texas has no end in sight. South Texas farmers and ranchers are feeling the impacts of the ongoing drought, so much so that if the drought continues, drastic measures will have to be made. We will likely close out October without any measurable rainfall in Victoria. The Victoria County AgriLife Extension agent says at this point, livestock, especially the supply of hay that cattle feed on, will continue to reduce, leaving ranchers no choice but to find other and often more expensive ways to feed their cattle.
Most of the time, at this time of the year, we have adequate forage that takes us to that first frost. Right now, we don't. So ranchers are having to feed the surplus hay that we've already baled this year real early. Usually we don't start feeding hay until after the first frost, which is historically about December the 1st.
Boucher says this time of year most crops have already been harvested, but if the drought continues into 2025, the impact will likely be serious. Things have gotten so dry. Victoria residents are being asked to conserve water due to the lower water levels in the Guadalupe River. The city of Victoria is entering stage 2 of its drought contingency plan. Low rainfall to the north of Victoria caused the Guadalupe River flow to drop below the threshold for stage 2 for this month. Residents should limit non-essential water use like watering their yards with an automatic sprinkler or filling pools and washing vehicles between the hours of 6 and 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. to midnight to prevent evaporation. For more information, come to crossroadstoday.com. With early voting underway, 2,000 votes were cast during 7 of the 9 days the polls have been open. That continued Tuesday. 2,147 people voted in person Tuesday. 17,475 in-person votes have been cast so far. 22 mail-in votes were received Tuesday, with 2,068 mail-in votes received so far. Out of the total votes cast, or rather the total amount of votes cast is 19,543. That's 34% of Victoria County registered voters. Just over 60% of registered voters in Victoria County that casted their ballots in the 2020 presidential election. It's like the plot of a horror film. Very large reptiles already capable of doing damage may be more dangerous than anyone thought. The plot is playing out in Florida.
Florida are sounding the alarm over what they're calling a wildlife issue of our time.
It feels like we caught the serial killer in action.
A new study finds invasive Burmese pythons in South Florida, which can grow to 18 feet long, are able to open their jaws wider than previously thought, making them capable of swallowing native deer and alligators whole.
These are things you don't see every day.
This jaw-dropping video shows a 115-pound snake doing just that. Its jaws stretched around a 77-pound white-tailed deer.
For us biologists, this was the most intense thing we've ever seen on assignment. This was as primal as it gets.
But this National Geographic-worthy footage has major implications. Severe declines in mammal populations throughout Everglades National Park have been linked to the species. One study finding populations of raccoons and opossums dropped 99% over a 15-year period. Bobcats dropping 87%. Other mammals have effectively disappeared.
Imagine just thousands and thousands of pythons eating their way through the Everglades.
Local officials hold an annual python hunt. I tagged along with some of the hunters last year.
When you tell people, I'm a snake hunter, what's their first reaction?
You're nuts. Every python that these participants remove is one more python out of here. We said one more out of the glades, but that's also one less thing that's just eating the glades.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Actor Terry Garr, the popular comedic actor who starred in some of the most memorable films of the 1970s and 80s, has died. Garr starred alongside Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie, where she was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Garr also appeared in the sci-fi classic Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Mr. Mom, and Mel Brooks' irreverent take on the horror genre, Young Frankenstein, with co-star Gene Wilder. Her publicist says Garr passed away from complications due to multiple sclerosis. She was 79 years old. Remember, follow us on our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Let's get a look at our clock up here. It is 6:37 now on our Wednesday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. It may just be October 30th, but there are signs around the crossroads that Halloween is already here.
I'm ABC's Perry Russom in Washington. Vice President Kamala Harris delivers her closing argument as former President Trump continues to distance himself from a comic's racist joke. That story coming up.
And also coming up next after the break in the full forecast, it's going to be another warm day for late October. I'll tell you how hot I think it's going to be here on the Crossroads. But coming up later on Sunrise, we're going to take a look at that next fall front, and we're also going to look at what's trying to stir up out there in the tropics that warrants your attention. Well, good morning, Crossroads. You're looking live in Cuero. Still plenty warm out there right now, sitting at 74 degrees and still plenty humid as well with the dew point 2 degrees off, bringing that humidity to 93%. But under calm winds right now, usually we would see a little bit of fog, but we do have a little bit of a breezy wind in some other areas in the Crossroads, so no fog expected this morning. You might maybe see a little dew in your windshield, but other than that, that's it. But looking at your future clouds and radar for today, another form of water you're not going to see today, unfortunately, is rain. I've actually bumped down chances to 10% for today. You could see some today, and I think the best chances for rain today are going to be along the immediate coast, because I'm going to press play. You're going to see most of the rain right down here, although there might be one or two stray showers that make its way inland. So if you do see that rain, I hope you enjoy it, because chances will be on the rise tomorrow, and everybody else are going to see mostly sunny skies today. And with that being sun today, it's going to be another warm one. Pretty warm for late October. We're about to enter November, if you believe that. I'm thinking about 91 here at Victoria. Everybody else going to see around the same thing, near 90 in the low 90s and upper 80s. Same thing on the long immediate coast as well. I've got a high forecast of 88 today in Port Lavaca. So definitely get out there and enjoy that warm weather before we cool down a little bit next week. But you're in the background, we do still have a little bit of pollen we're dealing with. We're talking about moderate grass and tree pollen, but in the background, low ragweed pollen today. That's the silver lining, because there's no ragweed out on the Gulf waters with the southeasterly wind. But if you're all going down to the beach today, today or going to the Gulf waters to go fishing. I want to let y'all know we do still have slightly choppy waves with the winds 10 to 15 knots out of the south-southeast, and your water's still pretty warm in the low and mid 80s, but we got lots more upper 80s air temperatures to come all the way into November before the front arrives, and we'll look at that front next and the tropics.
Former Cuero Gobbler quarterback Brad Gable will be inducted to the Texas High School Hall of Fame in May of 2025. And Gable, he played for the Gobblers back in the 1980s, and he graduated from Cuero in 1986. And he had some great stats. He passed there for 2,528 yards and had 31 touchdowns. And Gable would then head on to play at Baylor University before heading to go to the NFL to play for the Philadelphia Eagles, Cleveland Browns, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I had a chance to chat with him about this honor and what this means to him.
I'm very honored, excited about next year and meeting all these inductees, and really just, I was inducted a few years ago into the Baylor Hall of Fame. And I really thought that was just icing on the cake. I didn't expect anything else, and this to come up, just tremendous honor, and really happy to be able to share this with my friends and my family.
Congrats to Brad Gable for being inducted to the Texas High School Hall of Fame. And he's got some other big inductees as well here in 2025. It will be Robert Griffin III as well, and Patrick Mahomes, so some big names. So again, for Gable, he's going to obviously making the city of Cuero proud, and obviously will be huge for them going into May of 2025. This is Max Williams, 25 News Now Sports.
We're now less than a week away from the presidential election. Both candidates now in the final stages of campaigning.
With the backdrop of the White House, Vice President Kamala Harris making her closing argument less than 1 week away from Election Day.
We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Harris vowing to work across the aisle to help the American people.
Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When elected, I will walk in with a to-do list.
Former President Trump on Fox News distancing himself from comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage at Trump's rally in New York City.
I don't know who it is. I don't even know who put him in. And I can't imagine it's a big deal. I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president, I think, that's ever been president.
This morning, President Biden clarifying this remark he made last night, played on CNN.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable.
Biden says he was only referring to the hateful rhetoric made by Hinchcliffe, Trump pouncing during his rally in Pennsylvania.
These people, terrible, terrible. Terrible to say a thing like that, but he really doesn't know. Honestly, he doesn't. And I'm convinced that he likes me more than he likes Kamala.
Nikki Haley on Fox News reaffirming her support of Trump with a warning to the campaign.
This bromance and this masculinity stuff, I mean, it borders on edgy to the point that it's going to make women uncomfortable.
Haley has not been on the campaign trail with Trump. She says she last spoke to him in June. A major question has been how her supporters decide to vote. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Halloween is just around the corner and festivities have already begun. A trunk-or-treat event at Mockingbird Lane and Laurent Street happened last night. All businesses in Mockingbird Plaza pitched in their time and effort to ensure that the children had a great time. The sponsors arrived early to set up, and the owner of a loan company put this event together as a way of giving back to the community.
They took time out of their schedule to come out here, and all these people out here, all these businesses, they were loving and wanting to come out here.
He says this event was done with a lot of love. We're highlighting homes around the area who went all in for the Halloween spirit. These decorations come from the Dorset's house here in Victoria. The front yard decked out with a graveyard and ghouls who watch over the coffins. They even encourage folks to take pictures inside of the coffins. They say they get a lot of visitors who are spooked by their impressive display. that took weeks to set up, and they say they still aren't done wanting to add more items to the roof. And that leads us to your viewer poll. You can scan the QR code right there on your screen to take part. We want to know, are you dressing up for Halloween? Okay, let's take a look. 17% of you say yes, and 83% of you say no. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part in our viewer poll. The time is now 6:46 on our Wednesday morning. Still to come, the search is on for a person who set ballot boxes on fire. All right, it's time to celebrate some birthdays. Happy birthday to Jace. Happy 13th birthday to Jace Pena from his mom, dad, sister, and brothers, and all his family. We love you so much.
Oh, happy birthday, Jace. And also happy birthday to Aaliyah. Happy 10th birthday to our little softball player. Hope you have a wonderful day today. We love you so much from mom, dad, and your brothers.
Happy birthday to Jackie. Happy sweet 16. Happy birthday, Jackie. We love you from mom, dad, and brothers.
Ooh, happy sweet 16th, Jackie. And also happy 72nd birthday to Paula. Happy birthday, Paula, from all of your family with love.
And happy days in Barry Star. Henry Winkler is 79 today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mr. Henry. And also happy birthday to Taylin. Happy 5th birthday to Taylin. We love you so much and hope you have a blessed day today. Love Mommy, Daddy, Sissy, and Bubba. And to see your birthday wish live on 25 News Now Sunrise, come to crossroadstoday.com, click the drop-down menu, then click the home tab, and then you'll see submit your birthday photo.
All right, the time is now 6:47 on our Wednesday morning. Happy birthday if you're celebrating one today.
That's right, happy birthday. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, good morning, Crossroads. I'm sure a lot of y'all are wondering what are those temperatures going to look like after that fall cold front comes through our area next week. Well, we're going to look at that now. Starting out with this weekend, we're going to continue down the path of the mid and upper 80s all the way into early next week here Sunday, and then going into the Monday, we're going to continue in the upper 80s. And then as the front comes through, this computer is the American computer model, and this computer thinks that it's going to pass through sometime in the late morning on Tuesday, maybe even around noontime. But our temperatures are going to be dropping all the way down to the 60s for highs on Tuesday, and then they're going to warm right back up to the mid and upper 70s, maybe even low 80s as we go into Wednesday when that Gulf wind returns, and then we're warming right back up to the mid and maybe even upper 80s as we go into later parts of late next week. But where that cold front is going to be coming from, it's coming from this gigantic, the second upper level low trough right there coming out of the Pacific. As we go into this weekend, you're going to see it make itself a little bit more known as it goes over the mountains, and going into this weekend, you're right there here Saturday. But what this low and also that first low you just saw, that's bringing us the breezy winds today and a front that's going to install in central Texas. What those two lows are going to do is it's going to be moving around the subtropical high pressure that's going to be forming right off the eastern coast. And what we're going to be watching for all the way next week is where this high pressure sets up, as that's going to be the dependent factor of where the next tropical system is going to move as we go into mid to late next week. So what we're watching for is this area right here. Chances of development are at 40% over the next 7 days. But if high pressure moves over Florida, it's going to move more likely northwest into the Gulf. If it's over the Atlantic, it's going to move into the Atlantic. We're going to have more details on that next week, and of course more later on Sunrise.
Police are searching for the person responsible for setting ballot boxes on fire in Washington and Oregon. Here's a look at some of the ballots harmed during the fires that destroyed hundreds of ballots near Vancouver, Washington. Today, workers will begin searching through the ballots for voter information to contact them about getting a new ballot. New information tells us devices at both scenes Monday were marked with the words "Free Gaza," the New York Times reports. Investigators are trying to determine if the suspect is a pro-Palestinian activist or someone trying to sow discord. A growing number of newspapers face a growing amount of fallout for declining to endorse a presidential candidate. Their leaders argue they want to focus on reporting facts, not publishing opinions. But critics question the timing. Media giant Gannett is adding its more than 200 publications to the list. A spokesperson says the papers want to provide trusted information. Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos makes a similar argument for declining to publish an endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris. Still to come on Sunrise, news to know before you go. The man who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband has received his sentencing. David DePape, the man who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband, was sentenced to life without parole Tuesday on his state conviction. A San Francisco judge handed down the sentence on DePape's aggravated kidnapping conviction in the October 2022 attack on Paul Pelosi, which took place at the couple's Pacific Heights home and left the former House Speaker's husband with severe neck and head injuries. He's already serving a 30-year sentence in federal prison on assault and attempted kidnapping charges. The Supreme Court has rejected Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s effort to be removed from ballots in Wisconsin and Michigan. The Supreme Court handed down Tuesday's decision without further explanation. Kennedy argued that keeping his name on the ballots in the two key battleground states violates his First Amendment rights by implying that he is still a candidate. He suspended his campaign in August and endorsed former President Donald Trump. With just days before the 2024 election, hackers linked to the Chinese government are accused of targeting some of former President Donald Trump's relatives. U.S. officials say the cybercriminals were focusing on Eric Trump and Jared Kushner's call and text data. Trump's son and son-in-law have joined the list of high-profile political figures whose phone communications were targeted by the hackers. U.S. officials say it appears the hackers are not attempting to disrupt the upcoming election. Victoria ISD School District Board members will hold a meeting this evening at 5:30. They'll review the superintendent finalist. They'll review the employment contract for that finalist and address other legal issues. Sheila Collazo is the finalist for superintendent. She currently serves as deputy superintendent for Somerset ISD. The meeting begins with public testimony, giving community members a chance to speak directly to the board. The polls are open for early voting this week in Victoria County from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Voting is at the Dr. Petty Dodson Public Health Center. That's at 2805 North Navarro Street in Classroom A. Early voting goes on through this Friday, November 1st. And we want to invite you to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV. Just search for Crossroads Today Plus. And now we get a look at what I can't call a sunrise anymore, at least not for a couple of months, because, Parker, it is pretty dark out there.
I can't. Where's the sun? Where'd it go?
It'll come out like around 7:40.
Yeah, it'll come up here a little bit. It'll be here about a half hour or so, around 7:30 or 7:40. That sun's going to come up. But yes, it's dark out there because we are getting to the end parts of our daylight savings time. Before daylight savings, we fall back an hour, and we will be looking at the sunrise yet again at about 6:30 as we go into next weweek. But it's 78 right now in Port Lavaca. Plenty warm out there. Plenty warm for late October low temperatures. That's all thanks to the southeasterly wind that we've been experiencing the last few days. But looking at your satellite, it's pretty clear out there all across our beautiful state. But what we're waiting for is this. We're waiting for our next fall cold front coming off this gigantic upper level low trough that's out there in the Pacific that will be arriving about early to mid next week. We're going to look at that here in just a second, because before that front arrives, we still got a little bit more heat to deal with here in late October, early November. I'm talking highs all across our state in the upper 80s and low 90s. But looking a little closer to home today, I'm thinking about 88 today in Port Lavaca, upper 80s on the coast in late October. Plenty breezy out there in the afternoon time as well, with lots of sunshine and maybe a few passing clouds. Otherwise, a little bit warmer in Victoria. I'm thinking about 91, maybe 90 or 92 plus or one, give or take a degree. Also breezy as well, and plenty of sunshine. And a little bit warmer in Cuero. I'm thinking y'all going to get up to about 92 today, but we got lots more. Like I said, a little bit more warm weather to come before the front arrives on Tuesday, and also our rain chances are on the rise into the weekend.
Oh, so don't lose sight of hope for some seasonal closure here.
We have some. It's official. It's, you know, I feel like I'm losing my mind here. We've been talking about the same thing for the last 2 months. Hot, sunny, finally changing.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I know we're hoping for rain because of these drought conditions. And we want to remind y'all to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today, and join Shauna, Dawn, Mac, and Mac